Welcome to the Sunday reCHORDit. My name is Tony Parlapiano, creator of Popmatics, and today we're revealing the answer key for Regarding Stacks by Bon Iver. So this was the template we started with at the beginning of the week, and after a week of classes, we've filled in, got the answer key, got all the chords, and so we're just going to talk about a few of the things that I thought really stood out. First off, it's in the key of A, and what we could tell right away, just because there's no category for the EDS, that everything is within the landscape. This song had a high amount of variance. It's a good practice to study guitar players, because this song, if we look at the cast, all we had was acoustic guitar and vocals. And such a high volume of pop songs are written by guitar players. It's great to explore how they approach their instrument, because we can learn really a lot from them in the way that they play. And a lot of it has to do with common tones, the open strings in the guitar, and so you see all these fancy chord names on the variants, but so many of them are really just simple structures combined with other simple structures. So we'll talk. In our Discord channel, we put up a few articles here. Bon Iver it's based off the French Bon Iver, meaning good winter. My understanding is Justin Vernon, who is the songwriter, he had read this story about this town in Alaska where on the first snowfall of every year, the members of the community would all come outside and they would gather around and give each other hugs and shout Bon Iver. And he just thought that was so cool. And when he went to look up the spelling of it, he was a little disappointed because the spelling seemed a little uninspired, or didn't really capture the feeling that he wanted. So he played around with a few different variations of the name and then decided to just kind of chop off the H, but he pronounces it a little bit differently. So he pronounces it as Bon Iver. The song is from 2007, and I originally heard this song on an episode of House. So this was all the way back when I was still watching network television, which it's been well over a decade since I've seen any shows. I don't even know that I could name a show on network television right now. A few things that we looked at. We did talk about the cast here. I wanted to talk about the heartbeat. So the heartbeat, we have no percussion in this, but we do get a percussive feel from his strumming patterns. When you listen to the recording, it'll be 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and. So everything that we have kind of highlighted here, you'll hear this repeated strumming pattern throughout. We also capture the tempo at 124. We're in the key of A. That we give you. The time signature, if we were writing this in standard notation, would be 4/4, and then we have a list of all the chords that are occurring throughout the song. So we won't go into all those, but I just wanted to talk about this this kind of first emotion, trying to capture the feeling that the song evokes. It's great because not everybody has the same reaction. However, I did watch some videos on this, and I was looking at a lot of comment threads, and the word hopeful kept coming back. And I agree, that's how the song feels to me as well. I think some of that comes from the chords. Now, the first thing is the song starts on a 5 chord, which is not really that common for pop songs, but it starts on a suspended chord. And so if we take that E sus chord like this, so this would be our normal E chord, coming back to our 1 chord, but he starts it on this sus4 chord. And by doing that, he has this tie to home, to the tonic of the key that we're in. So here, so it's a little bit closer to home. In fact, if we don't play the bass note, if I were to just look at this chord, I might call it an A sus2 without any context in the left hand. It's only once you put the bass note in that we hear it as that 5 chord. That suspension, that suspended feeling, it's not too much of a stretch for me to kind of describe just that as kind of this feeling of hope. It's waiting to be resolved. This idea, he comes, and then he comes back to the 1 chord. And then after that, it's the next chord that feels extremely hopeful. I mean, this is the chord that really defines it for me. So we have this D add 9 over A, which in the chart you'll see I sometimes put as D add 9 over F sharp. In fact, I use that more often. We looked at, on Spotify, there was 28 recordings of this. And I made a playlist and shared it with the group and said, hey, even if you love this song, it'd be a great idea to just sample some of these covers. And especially if you didn't love the song on your first listen, then it's a good idea to try to separate the song from the performance, because maybe you'd really like the song if you heard it a different performance, a different artist, and kind of hear their take on it. So that's something we keep talking about here with the Sunday reCHORDit, this idea of, hey, maybe you don't love the performance, but what about the song? And that's why we start off with just encouraging everybody, read the lyrics before you listen to the soundtrack, because you're going to get more details about the story, and you can start to imagine how are they gonna cast this? Like, what's the instrumentation? What's the style? What's the genre? What's the tempo? All of that, and that's all the stuff we get to discover when we're doing this. So anyway, that chord, like I said, the sus coming home, and this kind of like, it's the drift away almost. You can play it here. You can see oftentimes I'll play it something like that. Let that fall. So just really beautiful tones, and I think with that heartbeat, that strumming pattern, it all adds to it. Now I also like to point out my favorite lyric. I always look for a favorite lyric in a song, and by far it's this: everything that happens is from now on. That is something that I say so often to my students, especially when we make mistakes. In anyone who's done our campfire challenge, that's even part of what's in our materials, like in the story when we talk about it. It's everything that happens is from now on. This idea that you don't have to deal with your past, you don't have to worry about the mistakes. It's this idea of it's a new day, it's a new beginning, and really in this tale, it's more this idea of like it's the ending of an era, but the ending of an era is always the start of something new. So I just love that expression. Everything that happens is from now on. This idea that you don't have to worry, hey, you didn't practice this week? Don't worry about it. Everything that happens is from now on. The other thing I wanted to point out was in the chorus, on your back with your racks as the stacks are your load, in the back and the racks and the stacks of your load, in the back with your racks and you're unstacking your load. Sounds almost like a Dr. Seuss. Kind of my favorite moment from the song, which happens in verse 5. And it's not my favorite lyric, but there's something about the way that this is delivered where he said, "This is not the sound of a new man or crispy realization. It's the sound of the unlocking and the lift away." And that's another one. I just have this image of uncovering this secret passage, and you're lifting off the door and seeing this new path forward. Or you're not a different person. It's just you let go of the past and you're ready to move forward. And the way that this song ends is so beautiful. The track just doesn't end on the final chord. There's about 15 seconds of silence. And then you hear something that sounds like an answering machine and a dial tone. In the video that we shared, they describe that as him kind of reconnecting with the world after this retreat to his cabin. So again, just a very cool way to end a track. It's very intimate. You feel like you're right there with him in the cabin. So that's it for this week with Regarding Stacks. We'll have a new song for this week, which the template is already ready, Extraordinary Magic, and we're not revealing the artistry here yet. You can figure that out because we want you to read the story first. So go ahead and download a copy of that, and we'll start talking about it in class throughout the week. And yeah, let us know your first impressions, and we'll be back again next week with the answer key for this and a new song for the following week.